Oh man, I'm excited for this one. We got a really good one today. I feel it in my bones, and we got the cosign from Step too. So we got a good one for everybody. So yeah, welcome to Control Camp, everybody who's joining us. We are a community built for independent artists wanting to get their music into TV and film, and that includes commercials, ads, games, trailers for major brands like ABC, Netflix, Hulu, Fox, you name it. And I am one of your hosts, Daraj. I'm an indie hip hop artist based out of Orlando, Florida. And some of my credits include Call of Duty Mobile, Amazon, Facebook, just to name a few of my placements. And joining me is the amazing Eric Campbell. He is a songwriter and composer as well. His credits include Greenleaf, Shameless, Loving Hip Hop. So he's had stuff all over the place as well. And we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we just have real conversations with industry gatekeepers. I mean, we do song critiques, we do Q&As, just to give you all the tools on what it takes to succeed in sync licensing. And so, oh my goodness, we got Jess Garulia with us. What's up, Jess?
Oh, hey.
Hey,
I was
hey.
trying to figure it out. Sorry, I was talking over you.
All good. I'm gonna finish up my little intro. I'm trying to sound professional. So real quick, just to finish up, all of our resources that we've created and curated for you all are over at controlcamp.com, and that's spelled like Control Alt Delete CTRL camp.com. The link is in both of our bios, me and Eric, or Eric and I, excuse me. And so follow our club, stay up to date with the new rooms we have. And with that, welcome to the camp. Today's session is on how to approach music supervisors, 7 rules on how to get your DMs open. And we have an awesome panel with us. We have some with us and some that may join in. But we have Steph Fink from Music Box. We always love having Steph with us. We also have Rosie Howe, music supervisor. What up, Rosie? I see we got Jessica Gramuli. I wasn't sure if she was going to come or not, but she was able to make it. I think she's out in Scotland right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I am.
Is it like 1 a.m.?
Yeah.
What time is it?
It is. It's 1 a.m.
Oh, you
Oh
are a
my
trooper. We
gosh.
appreciate you so much.
Yeah,
I love
we're
you
Yeah.
so
guys.
happy that you're here. We love you, Jess.
Rosie, I
Oh,
miss you.
I
Hey,
miss you
Steph,
too.
what's up? Hey, John. Hello,
Look at
everyone
the
else.
What's good, everybody?
dedication on
Bubble
stage.
on deck.
Hey!
Bubble on deck.
Bubble on
Yep, yep.
deck.
Yeah.
I literally
Yeah.
just texted Tamara with a placement. It looks like we got.
Yo, dope. That is dope.
Well, that almost kind of completes the introduction. We got Jess Garulia, we got John Kleinbell with Cast the Moon Music, and then just joining us is Tamara Bubble with For Goodness Sake, licensing agency. And so, yeah, we're going to get into it. We're already lit up here. We're trying to have some fun, but I'm going to kick it over to Eric, and we're going to get this thing going. Are we good, Eric? We ready?
We are good. I also just brought Clint to the
Clint,
stage.
what up, man? Dang, I just
Yo,
kicked
yo,
with
what's
Clint.
up?
Me and Clint got a chance to kick it out in Atlanta over the holidays.
Oh, I meant to
So
ask you
that's the
about that.
he's the official homie now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, so welcome everyone. So yeah, we're gonna jump into this. We got 7 points, and this has been a discussion. We've actually been talking to different supervisors who've been really supportive of the room, and just you notice that a lot of people keep showing up and showing back each week, which we really appreciate. And many of them give us good feedback. Like they like the way the room is moderated. They like the type of questions they're getting. They like how we're doing the setup. And many appreciate that they get, followers, but still the question comes is, the way some people deal in the DMs. And we want to make sure that nobody in our circle and our camp is doing anything that, we want everybody to win. So we don't want you to do anything where you're unknowingly pushing somebody away, or if you're not getting the response that you want. And so all of us, we need to study and learn what really works in terms of how to reach out to people. How do you get these relationships? And just on your own, like, what are the people here on the stage who have built their relationships? What have they done to get people to engage with them back and forth? And so, as with everything that we've been talking about these last few weeks, there's not like one set of rules. But we're going to be sharing our own experiences. We're going to be talking about maybe some different perspectives and just give you things that you can take with you. Some things to note. We are recording this room, and this is we actually just trying to do the recording for the first time today. But we are last week. When we did the room on the 4 steps to music placements, if you notice, we put a link right in our website afterwards where you could download the notes. Some people asked us about the notes, and this is going to be a thing we always have. We actually shout out to Maya. You'll see her below. Maya is our intern, and she is taking notes during the meeting, and we're also recording during the meeting. So after each of these sessions, we're going to be able to post. If you have to leave the room or you're not able to stay the whole time, or if you miss something, you're going to be able to find out everything that was talked about, any of the resources that were given out. I'll let Jared talk about the details of some of the other stuff later. But just know that we're providing a lot of information for you, and we're here to just make sure we all win. So with that, all right, we're going to talk about 7 steps to approaching music supervisors. And we're saying music supervisors, but this really works with any level of executive or someone you want to network with, whether they run an agency, whether they are a business contact, whether they're someone you want to get investment money from. At all levels, this information works. But we're going to take what we're saying. You can take when we say music supervisor and you can put another word in it and it'll still work just the same. So I'm going to cover 7 points. Number 1, music supervisors are human beings. If you remember that and act accordingly, everything works. That's number 1. Number 2, we've said this before, follow aggressively, but DM cautiously. I'm going to come back and we're going to deep dive into all of these. Number 3, find out what they need and see if you can determine this before you actually reach out to them. Number 4, keep it brief. Number 5, look for opportunities where you may be able to pay for access. Number 6, follow up reasonably. We'll talk about what that means, what your follow-up game should be. And then number 7, I'm going to save till we get to the end, where we got 7 points that we're going to jump into. So as I'm talking, I'll go through each one. Jared will probably jump in. And then if anyone who wants to jump in as we're talking, feel free. And I'll probably throw it to you as well. Actually, I just see somebody jumped in. And I want to bring Kick Lee to the stage, if he can come to the stage. Actually, I was just in a room with Kick like 5 minutes ago in a different room. And it's crazy because in the middle of the room, Kick has done a bunch of sync placements in the ad space with brands. And while the moderator went to ask everybody, will give one thing about, that you think songwriters need to know for success, and Kick went in on how to approach people and how to he almost did this whole presentation we're about to do just off the top of his head. And I was like, that is so crazy. You need to come into our room and be part of this conversation. So welcome to the stage, Kick. And what's up, Kelsey? Good to see you.
Hi, this is my first room. Thanks for having me.
Like first room, like ever, like in Clubhouse?
Yes.
Oh, that is
I love
dope.
when that happens. I love when that happens.
Nice
Welcome, Kelsey.
Yeah, Arbel,
Okay.
Jaden, nice to see all of you.
Good to see you.
Okay,
Good
so
to see you.
yeah, thank you for being here. All right, so let me just jump in. Number 1, and this thing, I don't want to talk down to anyone, so forgive me if it's. I don't want it to sound like that. I put this thing, music supervisors are human beings, because sometimes we approach people just because we're so hungry and we're thinking about the end goal. We need the placement. We need, this is the gatekeeper. Where sometimes we can think of the gatekeeper as the person that stands between me and what I want. And it's very easy to dehumanize somebody in that place and just see them as the ticket, or that's how I get the bag. That's who I need to get through. And so that remembering that these are people when you're going to message them, I've personally found, like, if you take every interaction and think of it as a building block to get to know them and not just pitch music to them, it always works out for the better. And so if you're looking at, this is a person who works in the same industry I want to work in. I really think what they do is cool. It's really interesting. How do I get to be friends with them? Or at least how do I get the relationship with them? How do I, let me at least understand them. I think it was, Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of them habits is seek to understand before seeking to be understood. And I read that years ago, and that's always stayed with me. And it goes with projects, and it works with people. If we always approach people thinking about what we want them to do for us, but if you're thinking about how do I understand them before I get them to understand me, it always works so much better. So music supervisors are human beings. Treat every interaction as a building block to get to know them. Figure out how you can add value to them. And think about that before you reach out to them. Like, it's so easy to say, okay, this is what I want, but what do they need, right? If they have public profiles, if they have any articles, if they have any interviews. Kick said something in his talk earlier that he keeps, I think it was Kick that you said this, that he keeps a spreadsheet on people that he talks to just to kind of track conversations. And I do the same thing. I'm very anal when it comes to business relationships. And so, but with that, I always think about, who are these people? We live in a world where all this information is out here. Everyone's talking about what they're into. And so if someone says that, hey, they're really into skiing, well, guess what? I'm really into skiing. Well, now we have something that we can really connect on outside of music, but just as human beings. So take the time to really check them out and kind of see what that could be. Just to put an illustration behind this, I worked with a producer on a show, and he talked about how he got his first placement. He wasn't looking for it. He wasn't even looking to be in the sync space. He was scoring movies at the time, but he was on Twitter, and he followed people in the industry, in the film industry, and different business that he wanted to be in. And one film producer kept talking about, some sneakers that he was into. And this composer was a real serious sneakerhead. And so he commented on the guy's post about, some sneakers that he posted. They went back and forth, for a few, back and forth for a little bit, just talking about the sneakers. And then that was it. 6 months later, that guy hit him up saying, hey, it's been cool talking to you. I just checked out your website. I see that you, score movies and do whatever. I've got a project I'm working on. I think you can work on. And that was the start of a relationship that's now been many years. And he never pitched the guy. They just had genuine conversations. And so, approaching music, that's what I mean when I say approaching as human beings. Jared, anything to throw into that?
Yeah, no, I think you're hitting on a lot of important topics that I've personally found really effective and helpful when seeking to approach music supervisors. Because again, like, you tapped into the mindset of, we have music, we're trying to get it to the right people, and that's kind of the motivation. But that motivation also needs to be supplemented with, hey, the people that I'm trying to get in touch with are actually people, you know what I mean? And so we need to, like any relationship, figure out how and what way can we create some kind of genuine connection. Because at the end of the day, this space is all relationship based. You know what I mean? Like, your music can be amazing and that'll get you, very, very far. But if you don't know how to kind of curate and keep those relationships and anticipate needs, then it can begin to kind of fall flat after a while, if you don't curate and cultivate, rather, those relationships in a healthy way. And I'll add to it as well, in your seeking out and in your outreach efforts, it's not uncommon for your first interaction to kind of fall flat, or maybe not even get a response back. And so that's just a point of, don't be discouraged. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it may not be the first interaction. Even if they do reply back, they may not have a need, for whatever it is that, music you have or whatever, but just continue to know that, again, it's relationship. So, as you're navigating those waters, it could come back a couple months later where an opportunity arises, but you've done the work to try to keep someone in and being politely persistent in that regard. So that's what I add.
That is great. So point number 1, music supervisors are human beings. Point 1 out of 7. Remember, you don't have to take notes on this because we're going to have all the notes for this posted. You'll be able to come back and check all this out. Number 2, follow aggressively, DM cautiously. This is a motto we've been saying every week. When you can see the moderators on the stage, we bring people on the stage that we think could really add value to your business, to your life, to your knowledge of sync in the music industry in general. And so they're definitely worth following. But before you jump right into emailing or DMing, ask yourself, have you researched them? Have you, do you know what they might be looking for, what they're about, what they're into? I think, we're kind of hosting this and we're producers and creators, and neither Jared or I sign music, but even just from hosting this room, we get DMs every week like, hey, this is my music. Can you, I got this single. I think it's great. I want to get this placed. And, asking us that is in the context of, can you sign my song, kind of says, okay, well, we haven't really taken the time to look at what you do. We just know that you did this room, you're in the sync, and I want to get the song signed. So if you're doing that to us, and we're open to DMs, we keep our DMs open. But if you do that to us, we can imagine doing that to all the other soups and execs who come in here. So, the ones that are going to shine through are the ones who have taken the time and looked into them. So remember one thing, it's really hard to start a new conversation with a busy person who doesn't know you. And everybody, if they're successful, they're busy. Their emails are filled. There's people tapping into them all the time, sending the music, every day. So instead of rushing into the cold email or DM, maybe stay tapped into their social feeds. Look for opportunities genuinely where you can contribute to their conversations. Like what I said about my friend with the shoes. Look for times where you can kind of talk and tap into something they're saying and, find something genuine. So follow aggressively, DM cautiously. Number 3, right? Find out what they need, and can you determine this before messaging, right? We kind of said this, so I'm gonna push through past that, but just research what they're working on. Some cool things though to check out: imdb.com, tunefind.com. These are good resources where you can look, people up and see what have they worked on IMDb Pro. You can find out if there's something that they're currently, especially if they're in TV or film, is there something that they're currently working on right now? So it's totally different to just say, hey, I got music, can you get a place? That's different from saying, hey, I see that you are working on season 3 of The Mandalorian, and I noticed that they use these types of orchestral things last time. I do orchestral trailer music. I've had placements here. If you're looking for anything, I've got a playlist of songs available. That's a totally different type of reach out. And so so think about that. So that was IMDb Pro and tunefind.com and their social feeds. Great spots to research. Anything to interject there, Jared, before I continue on?
No, I think those are really good points. I want to do a quick reset. I saw we had some new people in here. So just to reset the room for everyone just joining us, welcome to Control Cam. We are a community built for independent artists who are wanting to get their music into TV and film. And I'm one of your hosts, Raj, independent hip hop artist. I'm based out of Orlando, Florida. Alongside me is my co-host, who you've just heard, songwriter, composer, Eric Campbell. And we both had many of our songs placed in multiple, with multiple brands and networks and so on. And we do this room every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're just joining us, today's session is how to approach music soups and 7 rules on how to get your DMs open. And so we've gotten through, what are we on, point 3 right now?
Yeah, we're about to start 4.
About to start 4. And just a quick recap, we've talked about 7 ways, or we're talking about rather 7 ways to get your DMs open and interactions going. And so the first one was that music supervisors are human beings, so act accordingly. The second one was to follow aggressively, but DM cautiously. Third point that we just went over was find out what they actually need. Can you determine this before actually messaging them? The fourth point, which we're getting ready to talk about, is to keep it brief. The fifth point is to look for opportunities and even pay for access. The sixth point is follow up reasonably, not ridiculously. And then the seventh point is special. Eric will get into that. So go ahead, Eric, take us into point number 4.
Cool. I'm going to go through the points, and then for the supervisors on stage, I'm going to come back to you after these, and I would love for you, if anyone to share once I get through these, start thinking about if there's any stories you can think of or relationships that you have now where the person built that relationship up in a really good way, and now you have a really solid relationship with someone. I want to start getting some stories of how those relationships came to be. And so that's just something to keep on mind as we go, keep in your mind as we go through this.
And just to say too, I wanted to let everybody know as well, we are note taking, and we also have, we'll be creating a resource for you all to download with all of the notes that we're talking about here. And so that'll be on controlcamp.com. When we have that available, you'll be able to find it there. So I just want to let you all know in case you feel like you missed something or any of that, like we're going to have that. And we're also working on recording these sessions and making replays available. So that's something that we're actively doing as well. So I want to throw that in.
Awesome. All right. So point number 4 about reaching out and keeping your DMs open. Keep it brief, right? Respect the time of the person that you're reaching out to. And so some thoughts along that. Instead of just giving a detailed background of yourself, sometimes, you might want to just put your whole bio in there, limit it to 1 or 2 sentences, and then maybe just put a link to your website. Put your bio in put a link to your bio in the signature of your email. And this also works with music. Instead of talking or asking about, hey, can you listen to my music? Listen to my music. You can send a brief email after if you've done the research and you have something relevant that you're saying to them. You can, in your signature, you can have a link to your disco page or to your box.com page. And if somebody, if what you said in the email moves them, they can click on it and link it. So that's something that I do. I might not mention music. I might not be pitching. If I read an interview that somebody did in Adweek and I really liked what they said, I might hit them up and say, wow, I really love the perspective. You were talking about diversity in advertising, and I just thought it was really cool. And thanks for contributing to this space. And that's it. But in my signature, it might say, hey, this, I write lots of music. If you've watched TV, you've heard my music, and then there's a link to my music. They can go there if they want, but I don't, I may never mention it in the times that I talk to them. So I already said this, but if you do know that your music is something that they need, then I think it's acceptable and it's a good idea to include it in that context. Like I said before, hey, I see you got the show. You're looking for this. Showing that you've done your research, you've created specifically something that works for them, and it's there. I've heard someone on the stage say in a different conference that if your subject line or in the context of your mail has what you're looking for, like, okay, you guys do pop, and this is one of your shows, or this is one of the brands that you work with, and your email says pop songs for with the name of the brand, whether they get to that mail right now, they can always Google their emails later. And and a number of them do that they'll, search they'll keep the email and they'll search it. And so that's why don't stress if you don't hear a response right away. But if your email is set right, they'll find it when they need it, or they can find it when they need it.
May I jump in quick?
Sure.
Okay, so to add a little bit to this, if you're going to send an email of music specifically for a project, I agree with what you're saying. We love keywords because if we're going to ignore it, we will file it away to search for later. So definitely include keywords. But when you're pitching specifically for a project, so say you're sending something to me, you're like, this is perfect for GQ, blah, blah, blah. The one thing that I ask is that it's broadcast ready. I understand if you want to listen to music and we're doing like some kind of feedback session, but if you're going to pitch me specifically for a project to my inbox for my work email, I ask you, and I hope I'm not upsetting anyone else on the stage, but I hope that you listen and you critically give yourself your own feedback and like share it with a few friends to make sure that the quality of the music and the actual sound recording itself is broadcast ready, because we can't do anything with a demo. So if we're at the point, if we're in a relationship where you're emailing us and you're sending us music, I don't want demos sent to me because I don't work with demos. I don't license demos. The only time I want demos is if you're creating something custom and you're using it as an example for a project that we're already discussing. Otherwise, demos don't really help me, and I'll probably ignore your email. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Let me know if you have follow-up questions about that.
That's awesome. I'm glad you said that. We added that to the notes.
Oh, I'd also like to jump in on an earlier point, if you wouldn't mind.
No, go ahead, Kelsey.
Yeah, so when you were saying about looking up supervisors on IMDb and all that stuff, that's an amazing tool for supervisors who are in film and TV. However, there's a whole group of us supervisors who, like me, work in some type of advertising. Theatrical advertising is what I do, but a lot of people do product advertising, any kind of advertising you can think of. That stuff isn't aggregated anywhere. That's going to take a little bit more research to look into. For somebody like me who works in trailers, probably the best thing you can do is see what kind of trailers my company has worked on recently. And then you could be like, hey, here, this would be appropriate for a family comedy trailer, like you just released X, Y, and Z. Because unfortunately, you're not going to have any way of knowing what we're working on.
Can I interject for a second to like piggyback that? I want to kick it back to last week for a second, because both Jess and Kelsey are saying amazing things. This goes back to what Eric was saying about validating your work. There's two things I want to bring up. One is follow directions. Everybody, and I again, like someone else just said this, and I think Jess just said it, I agree. I don't want to sound condescending or anything like that, but I can't stress enough when someone is giving you very strict directions on how they like to be approached or how to be reached out to or what kind of way they like to receive materials. I don't like MP3s, or I like only box, or I like only disco, or whatever those is. Don't be the outlier there. Keep it brief, do all the things. You're getting all the directions, follow those directions, and then take a beat, reread those directions, take notes, reread those, rinse, repeat. And then validating your work, which goes back to what Eric and the whole conversation was saying last week, and kind of what Jess and Kelsey are speaking to, know what the quality of the work that these people at any level are putting out. Listen to that work and say, does my work right at this moment meet the criteria for them to put it out tomorrow? So get that work validated before you reach out and say, hey, so you have something to offer.
And I just want to piggyback off everything that everyone else is saying. That's really important, because you also have to think about this as customer service and what you're bringing to the table. So all of us as music supervisors, it may seem kind of overwhelming that you have to do something a certain way for this one music supervisor and then do something a certain way another one, but we're all doing the same thing. Like us as music supervisors, we have different clients, we have different musicians, we have so many different personalities and people that we're working with. So we're constantly shifting ourselves and adjusting ourselves to help make things easier for the other person. So if you're being cognizant of that and you're doing that, that's going to make you all the more successful.
That's right.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I absolutely love that you brought that up, Rosie. Like the mindset of we're in the business of customer service to a degree because, in one sense, you all become our clients, so to say, for lack of a better word. And so we have to, learn how to meet your needs as best we can. And so I love that mindset, and you brought that up. I'm writing extra notes to kind of add into what we're delivering later on. So really.
Yeah, let me add into that. I'm not a music supervisor, so I can say this about all the supervisors. Supervisors are typically the most underpaid and even the most. I have some friends who are the biggest supervisors in the business who I've heard this from. And I am also a person who hires music supervisors for major projects. So typically they're the most underpaid, undervalued. They have the hardest job, I think, in production. And they're often faced with a lot of challenges, both in timing, clearances, legal, and budgets themselves. They don't always have the budgets. They usually don't have, let me rephrase to say, they usually don't have the budgets they want to work with to get things done, which makes things a lot, more difficult. They're human beings too, like Eric said. So try to appreciate that as you kind of think about them. And also treat this like a business. You're interacting in a transaction with someone as well. So, there's a human element, but there's also a business element, which means be professional in how you do that. And I'll leave that to get into the rest of these things. But
thank you, everyone. Those are some awesome points. I do want to point out what Steph said about last week. We talked about the 4 ways to get major music placements for TV and film. And part of that was making sure that your music was broadcast ready. Part of that was getting your music validated. So if you didn't get that, if you weren't here last week, if you go to controlcamp.com, the link is in our bio on our Sync 101 page, you can download that. It's free right now. And so you can download that and review all the notes from last week. Okay, so I think we're on point number 5. Okay, point number 5. Look for opportunities where you can pay for access. And I say this because, you're on Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is a great way to get direct access for free, and you should take advantage of all this. And DMs sometimes can work and emails sometimes can work. But there are other opportunities to get in front of some people, for fees. Like there's at least 3 people on the stage that I met at the Durango Music Conference earlier this year. And Durango has a film and TV conference. It was very small room where there's only like 20 of you in a room. And you get to pitch directly to 5 music supervisors, and you get to do that all weekend long in about 6 different rooms. So I got to meet like 30 music soups and play my music for them, and I had a 10-minute presentation with each of them. Got direct feedback, left there with many of them connecting either with my LinkedIn account or with my Instagram account or on some other social network, and came out of there with solid relationships. I've also done paid pitch sessions through NARUP, the National Association of Recording Industry Professionals, which will have like an advertising supervisor or a TV supervisor in a small room with just 6 people for an hour. You get to play songs either directly, or if when it was, you were doing when we were doing in room things, you did it in the room, and if you weren't in LA, you could do it over Zoom. And now they're still doing it, but everything's over Zoom. But that I've had some great relationships come out of that. And then last week we had someone from the agency, What Up Pitches. They do paid pitch sessions. There's a lot of different groups out there that do this. So that's something to pay attention to. Music conferences like Sync Summit or or Taxi's music conference, or places where you can get access to people. Some people like look at something like Taxi and say, okay, why am I paying to pitch music? But actually you're paying for the conference. You're paying for access to those sessions and that one-on-one, and all the pitch placement opportunities are just kind of like the bonus. Something else that I don't have specific experience with, but I put it on the list because I know other people have used it, is LinkedIn InMail. And I'm actually curious for anyone on here who's active in LinkedIn, whether getting in. So LinkedIn InMail, you have to pay as a premium subscriber, but that gets you access to be able to email people. And what I've been told, this is not my own experience, but I've been told that those emails, InMails for LinkedIn, are received a little differently than cold emails, because people know that you actually paid. You must have, and it's expensive. So you have to have a business that's working pretty well to make that kind of investment. So does anybody on the stage have any experience with this and want to say whether that changes how they deal, or whether they're more receptive to those types of messages?
Yeah, I get those a lot, and you can tell that people paid for it. It does show up differently. But when we're talking about interaction communication, it goes back to your point one about everyone's just a human being doing a job at the end of the day. So if you are going to spend your money just to send me a link to your music to listen to it without like a hello, how are you, at least, I'm not going to answer you anyway, and it's a waste of your money. And I feel bad for people who do that, because I don't know you. I've never worked with you before. I don't know if you're going to put me at legal risk if I use your music. That's the whole point of us saying we can't accept unsolicited music. And so instead of establishing a relationship and like learning about what I'm working on, or like telling me about you and your company and why you're reaching out in the first place, besides just being transactional, like, I don't care what you're doing, I just want you to use my music, kind of a thing. I don't like that. So I'm going back to point one, but also it relates to LinkedIn messages too.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. You said something I want to touch on, but before I get into that, does anybody else want to have any perspective on LinkedIn they want to add?
Sure, I'll add something. I know for myself, like, I'm kind of just like a mom and pop shop. Like, it's mostly just me. So when I get messages on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, like, I'm so sorry, but I just can't answer all of those messages. So, going back to just like understanding that it is just me, I am a human being, and I can't spend my life, answering people back. Like, it's really important to go back to my website, see how you can submit music if you want to get on my radar. And that also, when you send through my disco link, it goes right into my system. So when I do my own searches for my projects, there your information pops up. We can have a discussion. Going back to what Jess says, I can get to know you a little bit and see if I can bring you into the project and introduce you to my clients. So just being aware.
That is great. Anybody else? Kick, I saw your mic open. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. No, that was an accident. My apologies.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Okay, so
I'll say something.
Go ahead.
I'll say something real quick. And this kind of taps into our meeting last week, where we talked about this is probably one of the hardest ways to get your music placed. But it is probably one of the more rewarding ways when you can, establish those relationships. So, and also just to encourage, people like, and also too, to even validate what we're talking, like an actual case study is, on this particular point of looking for opportunities to pay for access. What Eric was talking about earlier was that last year we both attended, the Durango Expo. And that's actually how I got connected with Jessica Gramulio, who is on the stage now with Condé Nast. Yeah. From that, moment onward, I think it just established a really good relationship, because now, Jess and I will, text back and forth, like, I've hit her up when she was in Scotland, all that kind of stuff, just checking in, and, we just kind of chill and kick it. But it all started from, paying for the access to get in front of the audience that I was looking for, and then presenting myself in a way where, I knew what they needed. I was prepared. I was ready. I approached them in a way that was,
outstanding.
Okay.
You mean?
She said it, not me. She said it, not me. But
one of the best pitches of music I've ever received. Everyone who wants to know how to like sell yourself, please talk to him about what he did at Durango. It was amazing. All of us were impressed and talking about it. We're like, were you in Jared's room yet? Right, Rosie, you there?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, totally.
I was just like, but it like, so on top of just having a personality and just being like a fun, cool person to get to know, the music was there. Like his music was ready to license the next day, and we got a license for him at Bone App pretty quick. So, it's never happened that quick. I don't like teeing it up that way because it's never that quick. But it was like he played us all this great music, and it was ready to use the next day.
Yeah, and and I appreciate you saying, because that's the point I was leading up to. Like, that one investment ended up paying for itself, and created a really, really strong relationship that now me and Jess are able to kind of talk a little bit more, deliberately, intentionally, and it built upon a good foundation, is what I'm saying. So yeah, just to encourage you all, like, it's not impossible, but it is rewarding when it happens as well.
Well, and what's great about like this year particularly is a lot of those conferences are either inexpensive or they're free. So this is the year, while we're in, during the pandemic, to be taking advantage of those opportunities.
Exactly.
I wanted to piggyback off of what Daraj was saying earlier. There's a couple more conferences, like listening sessions, and one of the things that helped me out a lot with just getting to know who the players in the game was. I know he mentioned Durango, but also NARIP, NARIP.com, and Sync Summit. They both do a ton of listening sessions. And I think the beauty of those listening sessions is not so much just being able to present your music to the supervisor, but also being able to hear everyone else's music and kind of gauge where your music stands in terms of quality, in terms of readiness for sync. And then also, there's been some music supervisors that I've been pitching to probably for years, and the email didn't get opened. But like, you can skip the line kind of when you meet the person in person, and when they hear your music and connect the face to the name to the music. Oh yeah, I remember I was getting emails from you. So those things kind of will save you time. Like, I mean, you can try to send cold emails for the next 40 years and they may never open the email. But if you just meet them at a conference, at an event, at a listening session where they also get to hear your music, that can work wonders for you and also save time in terms of at least opening the door to the relationship.
Great.
I think they mentioned something too about Daraj's music being ready like the next day. I think that's super important, especially if you're collaborating with a producer or another writer. A music supervisor friend of mine was telling me about a story where pretty much they had this ad gig lined up and they wanted to use a record, but I guess the artist couldn't get in touch with the producer. And because that line of communication wasn't open, because they didn't have splits established, and that producer couldn't sign off on his percentage of ownership, they missed out on a sync that was paying, I want to say it was upwards of like 20,000 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to just make sure your splits are in order in advance before you pitch, and make sure you can easily contact everybody who collaborated on that particular track with you.
Just so many good points. These are awesome. Just as a reminder, as if you're missing some of this or you came in late, we are taking notes. We're making notes available for all of our sessions. So all these resources, all the links to things like Sync Summit and Durango and all the things we're talking about will be available in our notes. There's something that Jess said that I think is a good point to note, because this is particular about music and TV, I think, more than other parts of the industry. And this is the fear of getting sued and the legal issues that come from dealing with new people that you don't have a history with. And so I also heard other supervisors. This is one of the reasons why some supervisors just advise people deal with music libraries, deal with music agencies, because we know them, we have a relationship, we know they know how to do business. And if they're presenting us your music, we know you've already got through that part. And so last week when we talked about the 4 ways to get your music license this year, one of the things was we talked about, direct pitches is just one of those steps. Music libraries, music agencies, those are other steps. But does anybody else, either Jess or anybody else, want to go into why, just more about that fear and why the industry is so afraid of dealing with new people?
I'm trying to think of like a horror story, which I use a lot to scare my producers or like just a generic thing. Well, basically, like some of the horror stories are when you meet people from licensing, and we get pitched music everywhere. Our name is found online at this point in the digital space, and so you learn the hard way. Sometimes you will put someone's song in there and get slammed with a lawsuit because they actually didn't have the rights to use that. They stole this song from somebody else. They're already in a lawsuit. I licensed this really famous 80s hit this past year. I somehow cleared it, and then when I tried to pay them, I heard from a music attorney that the artist and songwriter actually has never received a dime since the 80s for this song because of this terrible agreement, and it's supposed to be on legal hold. And I actually helped her get some extra paperwork to fight this battle, because I'm very much all about making sure writers get their royalties and keep and maintain their intellectual properties in general. So that's really what it's about. It's we create the relationship, one, just because everyone likes to work with people they like, that's not specific to the music industry. But secondly, I'm also creating trust in you. Like, as we're creating a relationship, you're going to start sharing extra information with me that's going to give me a gauge whether your business is tied up or not. You'll hear us say, is your business buttoned up? And that goes back into what Clint was just talking about, where your songwriter shares and your splits are all worked out. You have an agreement in place that you can pitch on behalf of everyone, and you don't need to wait for everyone or stuff like that. That's what we mean when your business is buttoned up. Are you an independent artist and you pitched a song to me, and then I go, I want to use it, but you don't have the right to send it. And then one of your co-writers is like, no. This happened to me with a major artist this year too. I have so many horror stories when you work with 20 brands. But so the musician was a sole I can't talk. What's the word? They had the majority share of the song, but there were 2 or 3 other writers on it. It was a charitable event, and the artists pitched themselves, agreed to all the terms. Everything was going to get donated to the whole point of the event. But one of the writers came back and was like, actually, no, I want this much money instead, which was quadruple of what anyone else in the entire production was getting. It actually it was larger than the entire music budget in general, because this one guy with 2% of the song was like, no. And that's something that's even with a major artist. Obviously, we're not going to get sued for that because we are clearing it and going through the right process, but it creates all these back end issues that you don't really think about when you're doing creative or just pitching your music. Are these headaches going to come up? Because if you constantly are giving me headaches, then I can't work with you, and I don't want to go back and listen to your music and give you opportunities knowing that I might run into all these roadblocks, because we move so fast that as soon as I start seeing the blocks, I'm like, nah, I'm moving on. Next. There's too many options out there that there's never really a scenario where you can't find an alternative.
I'd like to actually piggyback on you, Jess, and actually tell a story and give advice at the same time about that situation happening to me.
What?
Right? So a few years back, and this is how I used it as an advantage, and it was very helpful for my career. I was at Target shopping in the electronics section for something for my son. Something broke for his game system, so I went to Target, And there were, you know, how they have the big flat screens and there's always these ads running and different promos. And their Target ad came up with I believe the dog was named Bullseye. And it took a minute for it to click, but it clicked and I was like, wait, that's my song. Now I was really excited.
Yo.
I was really excited, like, yo, but at the same time, simultaneously, I'm like, where's my check?
Yeah,
So,
it's like, and
Yeah.
the worst part is the person on the other side thinks that you're gonna be so gracious and grateful for the opportunity that you're not gonna care that they breached your copyright.
Yeah.
That's
So
the worst
what
part.
happened was I did my due diligence. You know, I didn't get upset. I understand things happen. So I did my due diligence. I forget the platform. I'm gonna try to find it, but it's like a website where you can see what ad agencies created what ads for the TV. You can see this commercial. So found out who did it on behalf of Target. Reached out to them and just said, hey, you know, I think there might have been a mix-up or something. I don't know. Trying to play nice to say, hey, you used my song. And they were like, really? What was the song? So I told them the song, gave them all the information. And the lady, she called me. She said, can I call you? So I said, yes, you can call me. She called me. We talked. They did their investigation, found out, and I knew it from somewhere, wasn't sure where. One of their interns who had been with them for a while was really trying to butter up and make good with these folks to get to this higher role and position. Ripped the song from SoundCloud.
Oh boy!
Wow.
Now,
No, that's my biggest nightmare.
It's
SoundCloud
sketchy
and
for me.
YouTube.
I hope everyone
Yeah.
listening, like this, kick is that's the right approach. To not call and be angry, to call and be nice and find out what happened. Because if you call and be angry, it's just the wrong way to go, and it happens a lot.
So to wrap it up, pretty much, they said, yeah, this is what happened. They were very transparent. I recognize that. They told me the truth. They didn't try to sugarcoat, lie. So what we did was, I said, well, I'm willing to, one, give you the actual file so you can reproduce that out and make it clean. Pay me a little lesser amount, but guarantee me 4 other opportunities from Target that you will compensate me. And when I say they were in total shock that I was so nice and cool about it, they didn't hesitate to say yes. You know, I told them, look, what I'm asking for you to pay me for, it's not because I'm trying to get money, whatever, for you taking that. I'm just trying to take care of myself, my son, who is now 12, my family, and better my business in sync and help propel that. And they gave me actually more than what I asked for and guaranteed the 4 placements within the calendar year. In total, I had 5. And I'm still working with this agency.
Good business. That's good business right there. Good for you.
Hey man, tell them next time they can take my music too, and we can work out a deal like that as well. That's amazing.
Yeah, I say that just to tell people, you know, who may experience that it sucks. Try to go in soft. Don't go in abruptly. Learn to read the room, as they say, when you're having the conversation. You know, I'm really big. I'm in audio. My job is to know about pitch, not pitch and verb, pitch and tone. Are the people sounding sincere? Do they sound like they want to admit it, but they just don't know how because they did wrong? Learn to read the room and work with the tone and ambience of the situation.
And you took
in situations where that's not the case, where somebody comes after them extremely aggressively and the legal fees end up costing more than any kind of placement ever could, is a lot of the reason why some music supervisors end up only working with like third-party publishers and people who represent other artists, because they know those T's are crossed and those I's are dotted because they have worked with these people for years. You know, I mean, I could need an instrumental and an acapella in an hour, and if I don't get that, your song isn't going to make it anymore. And so I understand why there are some music supervisors who are just like, nope, that's it. We're only going to work with these reps instead of directly with artists. But that's where it all comes from. It comes from things falling through the cracks, and it comes from assets not being available, and like not even high quality files available for finish. And sometimes those third party publishers, they're going to get that all from you right up at the upfront, and they're going to have all that stuff ready. So that's kind of the thinking from a music supervisor's point of view.
Love that. Love that.
It's that customer service Rosie was talking about.
What I love about what
let's Jody jump in real quick.
If I can piggyback on that, you know, you could have obviously done the thing that maybe right away think, what the heck, they're using my song, I need to go after them. But instead of that, you analyze it and ask yourself, you know, what's the best result here? I don't destroy a relationship, A. You get more placements, B. You get paid, C. You got all three of things that you wanted. You got compensated for your track. You got more placements, and you still have the relationship with that party. And that's huge.
Very dope.
Absolutely.
Jared.
Absolutely. This is, I hope you guys know, like everybody's in the audience listening, this is really, really invaluable information. If this is valuable to you, I just encourage you to ping somebody else who you think needs to hear this, because, you know, I feel like we haven't plugged the room in a sense as a resource as well, but this room is a resource as well, as far as like understanding how to get in front of, you know, some of these gatekeepers and stuff and the ways to go about it. So a lot of this information is really, really invaluable. So I'll encourage everybody to, you know, ping and really pay attention. And I wanted to do a quick reset because I know we got some new people in here. So for those just joining us, welcome. This is Control Camp, and we are a community built for independent artists who are wanting to get their music in TV and film. And we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to stay updated and never miss, you know, whenever we're having these rooms, you can shoot me a text. If you look in our bios, there's a number there. If you text that, you'll be in the loop whenever we have more rooms like this, so that you don't miss any of, you know, the information, the resources that we're offering, because we really just want to support you guys in your journey and help you win to succeed. So again, my cell is in the bio. You can text it. And so with that said, welcome to the camp. Today's session is on how to approach music supervisors, 7 rules to get DMs open. And we're getting close to the end of our outline that we have. And I'm going to go through the points real quick. But just to let you know, if you miss anything, if you go to controlcamp.com, this information and resource will be made available soon. So again, just stay up with us. But just a quick recap. Point number 1 we talked about was that music supervisors are human beings, so act accordingly, approach with caution. The second point we had was follow aggressively and DM cautiously. Third point we touched on was find out what do they need, and can you determine this before messaging them. The fourth point we mentioned is to keep it brief. Fifth point that we just touched on was look for opportunities to pay for access. And I believe we're on the 6th point, correct, Eric? Is that where we left off? 6. I believe. Okay. So the 6th point that we're getting ready to get into is follow up reasonably. And we have a 7th point that's special that Eric will touch on. So Eric, go ahead, take it away, man.
All right. So point number 6, follow up reasonably and not ridiculously. So, you know, I think the biggest disappointment for us as songwriters, and as a songwriter, as a producer, I can relate, is trying to reach out to someone and then never hearing anything back, trying to submit music and then never hearing anything back. And so when you're doing, whether it's cold emails or DMs, what we have found works. One is to have the expectations set right? You're reaching out to busy people that you may have a relationship with, may not have a relationship with. But even if you have a relationship with them, even people that I have a relationship with, I don't have any expectation that that's not the word I'm looking for. I don't feel like I don't have the expectation that I deserve to have my response is always answered. I know I'm dealing with busy people, and so I will reach out. But I also know that some of these busy people have systems, like Jess mentioned. If there are keywords in my email that I sent them, hey, I'm sending you an alternative rock song that could work for this brand that you deal with, and it's one stop, and it's available on Song Trader, and it may be repped by this agency. And if she sees that, if she hasn't been able to respond when she's looking for that modern electronic alternative rock song and she's searching in her emails, it will show up. So what I do is we send one message. And if this is a brand new contact, if I send one message, if there's no response, maybe I'll send another message in a couple of weeks. If there's no response to that, maybe I'll send another message in a month. I'm not sending a message every day, and I'm definitely not. I will never say in my message, "Hey, I messaged you, I didn't get a response." Right? I'm trying to understand the perspective of who I'm dealing with. So I'll send a message. I'll send another message in a couple of weeks. Maybe send a message on a monthly basis. And one of the things that I try to do is, if I'm messaging every month, then there's going to be some updates of what I'm doing every month. So if in January I sent you 2 songs that I was working on, if I hit you up again in February, oh, here's a new song that I'm working on, just released it. It's got, 10,000 streams on Spotify. Here's a new collaboration in March. Here's a new collaboration that I did with a couple of different agencies, and we came together and we did this whole country hip hop project that we're promoting. So every time, if whether they see the messages or even if they don't get to the messages till later, or like what Tamara said, if I meet them at a conference a year later and they go and look up the messages, it won't be 20 messages that all say, "Hey, did you get my music? Hey, did you get my music? Hey, did you hear my single? Hey, did you hear my single?" But you can actually see that, oh, this is somebody who's working, is doing stuff. I'm not waiting on you to put me on. I'm hustling, I'm grinding, I'm doing what I've got to do. And so send one message, send it regularly, respond regularly, but respond with updates. So that's our follow-up reasonably formula.
I definitely want to chime in on this one.
Go for it.
I'm sorry if you hear an echo. But so for as far as the follow-up, I definitely recommend don't follow up at all if you don't have new music. So when you reach out, you're not saying, "Hey, did you get my email?" You're saying, "Hey, I have something new for you." I think a lot of artists are sitting back and they're looking for feedback. Oh, do you like this song? And to be honest, I don't think any of these artists would care whether the music supervisor likes the song if they're going to use it. So I think artists kind of need to shift the mind on what they're looking for. Even what Jess said earlier, that she only wants broadcast ready music. So you're definitely not following up to say, "Hey, is this ready for sync?" You're pitching to her because you know it's ready, and you're only expecting to hear back if she needs to license it. So I think when people use that term of follow up, I really stress not follow up to ask like, "Oh, what did you think of it? Can you use it in this?" If they can use it, they're going to reach out to you. They're going to have to clear it. So I don't even recommend following up unless you have something new, because as an artist, it's going to challenge you to create new music, to always have something going on, so that if they reach out to you and say, "Hey, I like this song, but do you have something like this?" You have something else to send. Or if you're reaching out to say, "Hey, I just want to send you this new thing I'm working on," like those types of things is the type of follow-up you should be looking for, instead of just, "Hey, did you like this music?" Or even if they listen to it in the car every day, if they can't sync it, you probably don't even care to hear the feedback. So I definitely stress trying to be more helpful to the music supervisors, trying not to waste their time. So follow up with something new.
Yes.
Can I?
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to piggyback off of Tamara real quick, because I'm going to have to jump off in a second. But I want to use her as a perfect example. Like, I think you've been sending me music for a few years now, and I don't even remember how we got connected. But it's just an occasional email. You have like a nice message that you send me, and your tracks are dope. And I always listen to what you send me, even if I can't respond. But it's just this every once in a while little ping. Here's what I'm working on, that kind of stuff. And we actually worked on our first project together recently. But it's exactly what she's saying. Like, Don't follow up and ask us to critique your music because, honestly, we just don't have time for that. And what Jess is saying, make sure that your music is ready. So be asking yourself those questions before you even send it out to music supervisors.
I'd like to actually, again, as one who submits music and makes the music, give a perspective of what has actually helped me with music supervisors. And Eric, you were actually in the room where I actually spoke on this before about building the relationship. And the way I usually typically still do it to this day is I don't always submit music. I introduce myself. I say, hi, my name is X, Y, and Z. This is what I do, how long I've been doing. I make it informal, but at the same time, a little personable. And, to the back to the spreadsheet, I create my spreadsheet just to make sure and keep me accountable to make sure I haven't let the conversation or the reach out linger too long. And again, I made it clear in the other room, like give the supervisors time. They have a load of stuff going on. They got a million things. Pretty much what I do after that is, again, if I say, okay, it's been 4 months, 2 months, 3 months, a month, whatever, I do a live follow-up, say, hey, just wanted to check back in. I know it's pretty busy, whatnot, see how it goes. If they respond, great. If not, don't take it personal. What's helped me also with that is once I have the relationships, I'm the type to where before pandemic, I would reach out and say, hey, I'm actually in your area. Would you like to grab a drink? I'm with some friends. This is what they do. Make it more personable. And that way they can understand your story. That's how I've gotten where I am. People know my story. I'm a public speaker. People know my struggle as a foster kid. They respect that. They know I have good intentions because it's public, it's display. So they want to be a part of that and help because it also helps the brand in good giving. Like, wow, we helped this person develop their career in this and makes them feel good. And that's one of the ways I've been able to really continue to succeed and just make relationships with music.
I think another thing that's important for artists to realize is that the music supervisors work more in the corporate environment, so they're not going to have the same relationship and the same interest or communication style as you're used to maybe dealing with somebody that's in the studio with you or another creative with you. If you have the ability to compose a email and also a spreadsheet and have all your information organized and have all your metadata ready so that you can have everything they need for it to be one stop once they ask for it, once they're ready. Because I've had experiences where NBC wanted to clear a song an hour before the episode aired. And I was shocked, because I didn't realize it was that under the gun sometimes, but sometimes it can be. So the ability to be able to be organized and give them that information quickly and already have the clearance ready and all of the copyright and publishing information ready can definitely help with that process.
Very, very,
Absolutely.
very nice. And
go
ahead, Jared.
I was gonna say I got one quick question. I wanted to see and just kind of do a poll around the room. Like, has there been any subject lines that you've gotten from independent artists that have kind of made you like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me open this. Like it's encouraged you to kind of actually open up just off of the subject line. I'm curious for the music supervisors and also maybe like Tamara and Kick, like if there's been anything that you've seen like a winning subject line that's caught your attention.
Of course, once you share it, it'll never work again. But
I feel like Tamara always has really good subject lines. She's really good at talking about herself and her music and all the other music and her co-writers' songs and everything she pitches. Like her emails are on point. I can't think of any off the top of my head and I kind of don't want to say it. I don't want to read one either, but
I agree.
Oh, go ahead, Kelsey.
Oh no, I was just say I agree with Jess and Rosie. I know exactly what I'm getting before I even open the email from her, and her consistency also is great. Like I know I can go to her if I need that sound and one stop and all that stuff. She's got everything handled.
She does. Right down to it's seamless from her marketing to her business sense to her music. all of it. It's just like Tamara, you were just amazing.
Okay, I'm
Like
gonna
you were
cry
such
I'm gonna cry on Clubhouse.
I literally
Such
DM'd
a
her
pleasure to
today
work
and
with.
said that. I was like, can I send every writer that ever comes to us ever to talk to you first about how to approach us and everybody else? Can you maybe put together a book, or can we just send them to you?
So
I
what's
always
work?
say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, ladies first. Ladies first.
I was just going to say, like, my process has been to send what I like to call hot emails instead of cold emails. And so I just want to show whoever it is that I'm pitching to that I understand you don't have time. And so I've tried to lay out everything that I think you could need. And so I'm definitely keeping it brief. I'm not sending you like a whole book and paragraphs about me. Also, I'm just sending you what's, like I said, new music. And then also what I think you're working on, or something that you could actually use, rather than, oh, here's my new album. If you use, because I think a lot of people pitch on, oh, I have a new EP, please license it. I have a new single, go ahead and license it. When you really should be looking at what they're working on and then seeing if any of your music fits for it.
So what's worked for me, and I actually got this advice from my girlfriend. I'm not gonna name drop her, but when a researcher and what her role that I'm gonna tell you she does, she works at Procter and Gamble. She is a senior vice president of communications and PR. And she always gives me the gems of how corporate works in that world. She's been there 25 years now. Her role during COVID too, which was very trying and emotional. Like even as a boyfriend, I had to step up, start cooking dinner every night. It got so intense. She went from waking up 6 a.m., 7 a.m. hard at it and getting off at 5 to getting up at 4 in the morning and not getting off to midnight, because she was responsible for making sure any brand of Procter and Gamble that wanted to put out a statement, put out an ad about Black Lives Matter or the pandemic or anything, she was responsible for making sure the messaging was correct. And she would tell me over time, this is how we send emails to other corporate team members, subject lines, things like that, introducing, hey, just, not say, hey, want to introduce, but introduction, and then make sure, because sometimes you can preview, at least for me, and I've seen for others, even though you can see the subject line, you can kind of see the start of the conversation. And that's actually, for me, the part that I was taught to focus on. Because, yeah, we see the subject line, but if I can get that, you can get the person in a quick few words in the preview line, that is what's been told to me works, and actually ended up actually working every single time. Because I would ask, again, you got to know your clients, what actually made you open the email? What made you talk to me? And I was like, first few words you put in the previous subject line, or in the little conversation line. They were like, it got me, and it made me want to know, like, who is this person? Sometimes I'm like on a flight and I just want to open it up and see what it's about, because I ain't got nothing else to do. So that works for me, and I'll just say try it for yourself.
Tamara brought up a great point, where she was talking about knowing what the music supervisors are working on. Doing your research can go a long way, which Kick was also just talking about, can go a long way. So, for example, I didn't myself watch a lot of television. I know the television shows, but I was one of the people that cut the cord a long time ago, so I stopped paying attention to what was on what network. And I didn't know at the time that one network was the same network that had Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med. Like, it makes sense, but I didn't know that at the time. But once I understood that they were all on NBC, part of my pitch became the fact that, hey, I'm literally from Chicago. I'm in touch with these scenes, but I also know what these characters in your show are going through. And I can envision what type of situations they may be in coming up in the next season based off what I just saw. So I would pitch with information from the show itself. And here's the song that I think could fit a scene if you have another car chase, or if you have a bank robbery, or if you have, somebody being witnessed in an intense interrogation, that this could potentially fit that. And sometimes that sparked the mind of the music super.
Nice. Okay, let's keep moving. This was great. Really great addition to this. So we're going to move on to the last point, and then we'll have some time. We'll do a wrap up, and then have some time for some Q&A on this. All right, so we've been talking about the 7 steps for getting your DMs answered. 1, music supervisors are human beings. 2, follow aggressively, DM cautiously. 3, find out what do they need and can you determine this before you message them. 4, keep it brief. 5, look for opportunities where you can pay for access. 6, follow up reasonably and not ridiculously. And the last one, number 7, at the end of the day, remember that it's all about the music. Good music can cover up a whole multitude of sins, right? So everybody on the stage probably has a story, especially from the soups, of somebody who didn't do all these steps, but their music was so amazing that they somehow cut through the noise anyway. And so ultimately, what really matters is that you have things that are broadcast ready, that you've done the research, that you have not just a song, but a catalog of music that is syncable, that can represent you, and that fits what supervisors and these clients are looking for. So as we're talking about all the things about music and relationships and building relationships, the relationships are important, but we're all in, the reason why all the soups are here, the reason why this business exists is because we're all looking to make or obtain great music. So at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. Hey, Jared, how are we doing?
Good, man. I was going to add to that as well. In addition to the list that Eric, kind of some of the characteristics of, your musicness and its readiness. Also, making sure legally things are buttoned up as well. And I second is like, you want to, you do want to focus on as well your craft and making sure you have a great song. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people will give you that look and even might be willing to go the extra mile to, to help find out how, we can make this work, even if you may not know all of the, the nuances of how to approach. If you're a genuine person and you got great music, I would probably go to say, like, if it fits and is needed, then they may make some wiggle room and be a little bit more generous with their time to help, push it along. But yeah, I want to throw that.
Very good point. Okay, so let's we got a lot of insight from the different supervisors. It's 9:19. We have 45 more minutes, so I think we'll shift into questions. Jared, do we need to do a research before we do that, or should we jump into that?
For time, let's go ahead and jump in.
Okay, and just remember, if you are coming in now, you didn't hear what we've been talking about, we will have notes available. Go to controlcamp.com and you can get resources from our previous rooms, and we'll be posting up a link soon for how to access the notes from tonight, so you won't have missed anything. So we're going to open up the raised hands. If you have questions, we're taking questions based on time about today's topic. So specifically about reaching out, about networking, about some of the things that we've discussed. If you have questions on that, we want to do that first. And as with all our other rooms, we're doing one question with no follow-up, so that we can get to as many questions as possible. And then we have a pretty full stage, so I'm going to ask that we just limit the responses to 2, no more than 3 people. If we get to that third person, we're just going to move on to the next question so we can keep things moving. So when you come up, you're going to ask your question. Actually, I was supposed to can't talk and do stuff at the same time. We're supposed to, all right, so hand raising is on. We're going to bring people up in order. Once you ask your question, we'll put you back down in the room and you can listen to your question being answered. If the supervisor has any particular follow-up, then we'll bring you back up, but we're going to try and keep things moving as fast as possible. So ask your question and then we'll put you back down. Once you're up, please mute yourself. And then we'll just keep about 4 or 5 people up at a time. So if you're waiting with your hand up, just chill. We got you. We'll keep everybody, and we'll keep everything open till about 9:45, 9:50, almost 10. And first up, we got Elaine. How are you doing, Elaine?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Good to
What up,
see you.
Elaine?
Hey.
Elaine.
Hey.
Hey.
I was just gonna say, I wonder, like, if you guys find this too, but it seems like a lot of it is, making friends and building a network, and one of the things I found is that collaborating, like, with other songwriters and producers on songs, that can really help broaden your network. Like, you just kind of go laterally to where you are, and then that's how I've been able to, like, get access to briefs and stuff, is because one of my co-writers had coffee with Rashad or with someone, and then passed one of my songs on. I'm just wondering, have you guys found that collaboration has been a big part of your building your network?
Go ahead, Steph.
Every week I repeat this, and I didn't say, because we're kind of focused on the topic of reaching out to music supervisors, but I repeat this for everyone in the room every week. Collaboration is the key to getting ahead in this business, because if you can't get past that validation point yet, other people who are doing this, working with the people who are doing it already, is how you're going to get better, how you're going to learn. It should be what you're doing professionally anyway, but there's so many great benefits to it. And yes, the ultimate benefit is getting to be introduced to all these other briefs and other things. But to bring it back to the topic at hand tonight, I think, collaborators can also introduce you to other music supervisors and other companies they may work for. So that's another, just for the notes, Eric, something to talk about on another night, how to work with the people that you're working with without stealing projects or stepping on people's toes. When is it appropriate to reach out to other supervisors that you might have met through a project you're working on with a collaborator that brought it to you? So we'll get into that in another week, but that's a great point.
Very nice. Great answer, Steph. Thank you. Okay. Bronxland, how you doing?
Hey, thank you guys again. Every week I'm tuning in. I love the information. My name is Bronxland, hip hop recording artist. My question for the music supervisors today is, say if I'm sending music, right? I just want to make it the most convenient for the music supervisor. Should I send the dirty version, the clean version, instrumental version, all in one email? Just in case they want to try different things out, and maybe another version with just the instrumental and the hook?
I would like that. I personally would rather just be able to, because sometimes I'll just pull down a vocal version, put it in a playlist, and when I pitch it and an editor likes it, they ask for an instrumental, I'll just go through my emails. And if that instrumental was in that email, I'll grab it real quick. If that's possible for you, you have a good amount of disco space or whatever, I do prefer that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't have a lot of space, just make sure that, like, I would send the full mix, the real mix with the explicit lyrics, and then just let us know in the email that you have a clean version readily available and all the other versions available, if you can't send it all at once.
And just remember, I think it was Jess or maybe it was Jared said early in today's room that every supervisor may have their own requirements. And so one might want everything. One might say only stream this. Like, part of your building the relationship first before you send anything is learning how that person likes to receive music. So that's part of the early research that you do before you even send anything.
I just got to say, I appreciate how Bronxland asked his question when he came up here. He was really brief of who he was, and then he got right to his question. So applause for you, Bronxland.
Definitely. And with that, on to Prima. How are you doing today?
Hi there. I am well. My question is, earlier someone asked or spoke about email subject lines, and I just wanted to know if you had any specific examples of good email subject lines for when you're pitching submissions.
If your stuff is fully cleared in one stop, I would love for that to be in the subject line, because sometimes I'm combing through my emails looking for one stop specifically and using that keyword one stop and then whatever genre I'm looking for. So yeah, I would, if your stuff is one stop, and please make sure it is actually one stop, put that in your subject line. That's helpful for me.
Very nice. All right, and also, as we're doing, I'm going to say this again because I think it's important. as everyone, specifically with this, as people are talking about what's a good ways to do this, still remember that every time you build a relationship with someone, with the relationships we're building, because each person might have a different thing that they want, or they might search their inboxes a certain way, so they might want certain keywords. So all under all this is relationship, not process. I don't want you to leave with, oh, this is how I write an email, or this is how I send my DMs. All that comes after the relationship. What we got? We have Mass. I think I got you next.
Hey guys, thanks. This room's great. And hey, Daraj. Okay, quick question.
What's up, man?
Quick question. I know making sure your legal side is tight is big, right? Because if you guys do the sync and you give it to the editor and you guys decide you want to use it and then something horrible happens, it's a big deal. So what in that email or in that first connection can I do or say or display to let you know that part of it is all buttoned up?
I don't think it's ever going to happen in the first connection. It's going to take time. I usually tell people, whether they're working for an agency as a pitcher or they're the musician, it's probably going to take a few times for me to even remember you. No offense, just because we get pitched music and meet so many different people all over the internet and space out there. So don't expect it to happen the first time. And that's why we keep honing in on the building the relationship, is because we need to build that relationship to know that regardless of what you're saying in an email, we know you well enough now that we trust that you have your business in place.
Dope. Very nice. All right, Nick, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Thank you guys so much. I'm Nick Alexander from New York. My question is, before getting an email, like I feel like I'm looking up, who's the music supervisor for this show. As an artist, I feel like I have some really good sounds for that. Is my first avenue to DM a music supervisor on Instagram? Like, I don't, is that iffy? Like what's the process of me getting some access to someone's email?
Building a relationship. So I do answer people on Instagram when they write to me, but I don't answer the messages that are literally just sending me a link to their music. I ignore it. So if you're going to do it, it's still write them a message, but remember, go back to step one of they're a human and just talk to them and create a relationship and establish yourself before you jump in and go, I have the perfect song for this project or this show or film. Because they don't know you and they don't know anything about how your business is set up. So it all stems back to that building the relationship thing regardless. And going back to, I think it was, Kik was talking about the preview text. That also relates to Instagram messages. If you can figure out the right stuff to say in the preview of your email, think of DMing music supervisors on the same way, because we're going to see that one short snippet of what you're saying. So you don't I would say, don't say, hey, Jess. I would say something completely different that will catch my eye. That isn't, here's a link to my song, Does that make sense? I'm sorry if that seems aggressive.
No, that's great.
That made no sense at all. I'm kidding. And just to remind everybody, we're bringing you up, and if we, move you to the audience swiftly, it's not because we don't like you or anything. We're just trying to keep it flowing and make sure everybody's question is getting answered, because there's a lot of people in the queue. So we appreciate you guys understanding that. But also, just a reminder, if you're just joining us, we are Control Camp. And if you're wanting the full replay of this room and even the notes that we have created for this room, we'll make those available on our website, controlcamp.com. And also, if you would like to stay connected and even get a direct message when that's available, you can swing over to my bio. There's a phone number there. Just text that and you'll get an update when these resources are ready for you. Because again, we make these for you and we want them to be, accessible and something that you can use and it's practical and it's helpful. So I wanted to remind you all about that, and let's get into the next question we have. So I'm gonna pass it to you.
This is great. And thank you, everyone. I mean, I love how fast this is flowing. Thank you, everyone who's been getting right to their questions right away and keeping it nice and brief. We really appreciate that. Change your mirror. Pronounce your name for me.
No problem. Changami Ray.
Changami Ray.
Thank you so much for this room. And I'm afraid I only discovered it moments ago, so I've missed most of the conversation. I have basically taken what some people have said already, in that I will think of, I'll find a film that's coming out. I'll know the plot, have an idea of the plot, and I'll think what songs in my catalog may fit at least that mood or a possible scene. But what I don't know is, and basically I'm just only finding the director at that point. What I don't know is, how do I find you guys? How do I find the music supervisor? And again, forgive me if that's already been addressed.
Sometimes
Go for it.
I was just going to say, sometimes it's included on TuneFind, TUNEFIND.com. If you search for a show on there, usually when you click on the show, it'll have all of the songs that played in a certain season or episode. And to the right, it'll say music supervisor a lot of times. Or you can just look up the show on IMDb.
Yeah, on IMDb, you have to click on like all of the crew. It says something like that. Like you have to click on it and then go like almost all the way to the bottom, and then you'll see the music supervisor.
The problem is, and I know this isn't a second question, but the problem is you guys are pretty much like post-production, and I haven't been seeing music supervisors. But anyway, thank you so much. I will be following, and I'll take the advice you've given me so far. Thanks so much.
To quickly help her out, I wanted to just say, I know IMDb does require like a paid subscription to see more detailed information. So that may be what you're facing if that's information is not popping up for you.
And again, and I'll say the resource that we're making as well, and I forget her name, I apologize. It'll have information like that on there, so it should be helpful to kind of get that answer question a little bit deeper.
Okay, we're on to, wait, let me PTR, make sure I got this in the right order. All right, we're on to Leo Music.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for this. I really appreciate it. Hope everybody's having a good night. I have my question here. When you guys speak of being organized when sending an email to a supervisor or to a publisher, what exactly do you mean about that? Does it depend on the relationship you build between supervisors or publishers?
Could you reword that? I'm not following. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm going to say it again. So when you guys speak of being organized when sending an email, right, to a supervisor or a publisher, what exactly do you guys mean about that? Does it depend on the relationship you build between publishers or supervisors, or is there any type of thing that you need to follow?
So that's a double question, because an email to a publisher is going to be totally different than an email to a supervisor. So a publisher, if you're emailing a publisher, you're looking for representation and administrative work, and administrative meaning getting your royalties in place, registering your songs at performance rights organizations, and making sure all the legalities that we were talking about earlier are set up for you. And they pretty much will handle all your music for you on your behalf, depending on the type of deal in place with the publisher. And then you can go and just focus on being a creative artist and your music and creating music and doing that. For a supervisor, when we say we want your business organized, it basically is referring back to that music publishing conversation. If you don't have a publisher doing it for you, we ask that you do it yourself. And so you can register your own songs and select your own PRO depending on where you are in the world. Making sure all your co-writers, if you have any, are set up. Making sure that your music recordings are the highest quality exported, ready for broadcast. mixed and mastered, ready to use the next day. You have different varieties of versions for editing purpose, and the stem's available. So it's like two separate conversations, but I think the publishing conversation actually comes first because we can't consider your music until that business administrative side is set up, whether it's with a publisher or not.
Right. And that includes metadata too. I should be able to command control whatever info your track and have an email or something, someone to contact. Also, I'd love to have splits in there, all the information you can squish in there in the metadata. And you'd be surprised how many people send stuff where when I download it, their artist name isn't attached. Like it downloads just as the song title. And I'm pulling down literally hundreds of songs at once sometimes, and it will just get lost if it's not labeled correctly. So that is also a small thing to think about.
That is great. We're actually creating a guide to metadata, and we're going to do a whole room on how to fill out all this information. So stay tuned to us because that will be coming very soon.
Can I jump in on one extra additional point there just for independent
Go ahead,
writers?
Jason.
As far as being organized as a writer, really pay attention to who you've written with. If you're not alone doing everything by yourself, do you have the legal right to pitch these songs on your own? Did you have a guitar player come in and hang out on it? What do they expect from it? Did you pay them as an independent contractor? Make sure everything is buttoned up, and don't just assume that just because somebody's going to get some money at the end of it that you have the right to just pitch whatever you want just because you were half of it. It doesn't work like that. Make sure all of that's buttoned up. There are no samples that are uncleared. Don't play the game. Don't take a chance like, oh, they'll never find out. Make sure everything's tightened up. Don't mess around.
Very, very, very nice. Thank you. All right. Next is Big Belly.
Yeah, Big Belly Relly here. Follow the drip. I have a question about platforms that make it easier for music supervisors to access all of this information that they need. I heard Disco AC or something like that earlier, and I wanted to know if there were any more.
So Disco, it probably sounds like all of us are sponsored by Disco, and we're not. It's just a great platform. It was created by music supervisors in Australia, which is why it works so well and why we all love it so much. It also naturally captures all the metadata, including tagging, creative terms, and genres information, as well as the songwriter, copyright info, and contact details. And you can download it, or you can just put it right directly in someone's Disco. So you will commonly hear that being the number one. In my world, I don't care how you send it to me as long as all the information that Kelsey was just talking about is included, and I can stream it and download it through some kind of platform, whether it's Disco, Box, Dropbox, even Google. As long as it's non-expiring, it needs to be available forever, preferably forever. But so it depends. Like, I feel like a lot of us will agree to that, but Disco really is such a great tool for the sync space, whether you're using it to support your catalog or whether you're using it to download it like we are.
Yeah, I would have to second that. I think as much as for the music supervisors, I know even for me as an indie, when I'm trying to catalog on music and keep it organized, Disco it's hard to beat Disco. Like, they just do it really, really well. So yeah, great question. So we're going to move on. I believe we have Lindsay up next.
Yeah, hey everyone. This room is amazing. Shout out to John Kleinbell and Jaden. How are you guys doing? I actually have a question about mixes. How important is it to have an acapella mix if you just have the original mix and then you have an instrumental? Is that okay? What are your thoughts on that?
Depends on how quickly you can get us an acapella mix, should we knit it. Because a lot of times, I mean, in my work, I don't know how often other people do this, but with trailers and theatrical advertising, the editors will take an acapella and take the instrumental instead of a full mix because they need to kind of control what lyrics hit and what don't. So it ends up being pretty important to me. I don't know that it's important for film or TV supervisors, but as long as it's like you have a way of getting that to me within an hour, it's fine. You don't have to send it right away. But yeah, it's pretty important.
I think if
It's
you're going to
critical
have
for
the
film and TV.
instrumental,
Go ahead, Mario.
okay, if you're going to have the instrumental and the original mix, why not just also have the acapella, and then you have them all available. If the supervisor needs it, then they'll ask for it, but it's good to just have it available.
Great answer. I really suggest having all of your mixes ready. You don't have to send everything in one email, but like everyone's kind of been repeating tonight, not only in advertising, but in film and television, it's really critical to have at least your Vox, your instrumental and full. I always recommend that people prepare it in MP3 and waveform as well, because you can't place MP3s, you need wave files. So the faster you have that stuff readily available, and then supervisors get to know that you're easy to work with, the better if you are. My company knows that if you work for us, we do not send any songs to be pitched without having a full package of those materials, including lyrics, split sheets, all those things, all ready to go in box. So we might just send an MP3 to supervisor, but if they ask for it, because like someone else mentioned, it could be 9 o'clock at night, the supervisor calls us and says, hey, we're on a soundstage, we need to replace this now. You know, we can ping them a folder that has everything and more than that they need. Better to be over prepared than under prepared.
Yeah, and also on stems, I don't need you to export the entire session and send me like 35 individual instruments. I just need like them broken up into like 5 to 10 things so that we have an element of control on the mixing stage. A lot, brass from percussion, from strings, whatever. Just don't send me the entire unmixed session. That happens a lot. And yeah, if you're going to export an instrumental, export an aca, and then export, your 5 to 7 stems and have those ready.
Yeah, and if you're working with the engineer, someone else that's mixing your music, it's wise and it's easier to get all that stuff up front versus trying to reach back months later and be like, hey, like I got this song, it's about to get placed. Come on, Can you preach, bounce out all these Clint, pass the stems? Clint, preach. Yeah. Because sometimes I know me personally as a producer and as an engineer, my plugins may change, years down the road. And if you're asking me to go to a session that's like 2 years old, there's no telling what condition that thing is going to be. Oh my gosh, bro.
Got it, but can't open it.
I also want to mention too that a lot of people forgetting their metadata, and I had music supervisors when I was a wee baby starting get so mad at me about tempo. Make sure you include your tempo in that information just in case those opportunities come up where they need some of the still like the acapella and the bounce down just instrumental. That helps so much. And I literally used to get yelled at because I forgot to provide that. You can do all that in the sessions itself. That Pro Tools, even production, just producing beats, they have a tab where you can do all of that. So there's no excuse for that information not to be in there.
Love it.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's keep it moving.
If I may, go ahead.
Yeah, let's move on to the next thing. But El Dorado, we got you up.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm really just observing and really listening to what's going on. I was in a previous room with some of the same moderators. Really enjoying the information that's being shared. Is mirroring what I've learned in my time in Sync, as well as different conferences such as SyncCon. I've gotten previous Sync work along with my partner who invited with previously released material. I like to ask any music soups on stage, do you have any experience where you found an indie artist with a great indie song and it's really fitting for your project? It hasn't released yet. Your project, you got a little bit of running room before it comes out. Do you ever find a synergy in the marketing where the artist's momentum can also help the project and vice versa? If there's a synergy that can be found in the marketing of both projects. Have you guys ever come across that?
Yes.
That's a good question.
And it's a magical moment when it all pans out that way. It's hard to plan though. It's hard to plan.
I feel like it happens organically. Although I have had clients who are like, I specifically want a song from an artist that has over X million amount of followers on Twitter or something obscene like that. I don't love those clients, but I do have clients that ask for that. And so that, that those kind of are along the same lines of like that person might have a new album releasing or something like that. But yeah, sometimes those things matter. It's just a case by case basis.
Yeah,
There's a
I've
good.
had-
Oh, go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead, Jess.
Oh, I was gonna say I've had people say they only want unreleased music for a project, and so what artists will do is that if they send me a song that is not released, they will speed up their whole rollout plan if they can, if it works out, and try to piggyback off of that sync placement when it comes out to release a single. So like we did that a lot at Freeform actually when I was over there. So a song would air in an episode. They would release it the next day on Spotify so that we could also promote it on the network side, and give them a chyron on TV. A chyron is also when you're watching something and a little banner pops up somewhere on screen saying this is the song title and the artist. That's a chyron. So sometimes it could go the other way, where you get the unreleased song on purpose, and then the artist will plan out their marketing plan because that song is going to be public now.
Also along those same lines, the majority of the time, if I'm looking for something for a teaser, trailer, something like that, it's my personal preference as a supervisor that if it's been placed in anything similar, I don't want it. Like if it's already been in theatrical advertising, I don't want that song pitched to me because it's going to make our piece of advertising seem redundant.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you. All right.
It's where you're like me and you want that music because it's like the new thing right now. Like it's the hit TikTok song. We have to have it in this Teen Vogue video. So it could also, I keep going like the opposite way. It could also be the opposite.
Yeah.
That is great. Sabrina, you're next.
Hey, this room is awesome. I love this. So just a quick question circling back to the one-stop conversation. I did pop on this call a little bit later today, so apologies if this was already discussed. But I know, Kelsey, you mentioned that it's a good idea to mention that in the subject of an email and, of course, in your disco and everything. But if it's a group of writers and you all have, the agreement, the one-stop, easy, clear contract saying that you all give each of you the 100% right to pitch and clear, yada, yada. Does the wording in the subject line or the disco have to change when it's a group of people, if that makes sense?
Not if you have the paperwork to back it up. A lot of times a group of songwriters will be like, okay, well, this person will be the one who is our like signator, basically, can sign away our rights, essentially. And if that's the case and you guys have that all written down, your signatures are all squared away, that's still one stop to me. But you should have paperwork to back that up.
It's a good question, Sabrina.
And everyone's name would be included because it would be part of the metadata and the copyright cue sheet info, regardless of who's clearing it.
Right. Awesome. Okay. Thank you again to everyone for keeping these questions flowing. If you've noticed, we're moving you to the audience after you ask it, just so we can keep this moving quickly. And thank you to all the moderators. For your answers have been perfect and still brief and succinct. And this is moving really, really well. Thank you all. All right, King, I got to open you up. Tell me your name, King. All I got is King.
Momeen.
King Momeen.
Yeah, how are you all doing tonight? Yes, just some great information I'm hearing, and I just had a few questions. I've had some work in the past.
Make it one question if you don't mind, so we can keep.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie it. I'm gonna tie it all in. But I've had some work and done some work in the past, production for various things, like places like Riptide or whatever. But I want to find out with doing registration like Mediabase and SoundScan or whatnot, which is I normally register my things there besides on my publishing company as well. The best route to go about, because I don't know if I may have missed it because I wasn't here the whole time. But the best way to go about to try to connect with a supervisor, to present those materials. I do know about the different various mixes or whatever, because I always have to present the stems, and different, background vocal acapellas and all that different stuff. So that's kind of a common thing, but it's just really trying to make sure the connection is there to connect with supervisors or whatever to get the material to at this point. And that's what I wanted to clarify if you guys had said something about that.
We totally did. Actually, without both today's notes, we covered all the 7 steps. And this is for anybody who's coming later. We've covered all the 7 steps for how to reach out to music supervisors. Our room, we are making notes available. And then even last week we covered, King, this will help you too. Last week we had a separate room on the 4 things you need to do to get your music placed this year. So if you go to our website, controlcamp.com, which is in mine and in Jared's profile, we have there's a resource page on there called Sync 101. You can download the 4 steps. You can download that free. You can find out the notes from last week, and we will have the notes coming up for this week. So just stay tuned, follow our club here, and then when you see us post the notes for today, you can grab them. All right, let's move on to Taylor.
Hi. Okay, so I'll keep it quick. We've talked a couple times in regard to emails that you guys will file them away and then go search for content later, searching by keywords. And I'm just wondering if there's a specific theme that you tend to search for more, whether it be genre, speed, type of instrument, or even just like themes lyrically, like if I should be including like the BPM or like lyric sheets in that, so that you can better find my music if it's filed away.
Most of the time when I'm searching in my inbox, it's because I need something that's one stop and on the more budget conscious side for the client, or it's because I need something quote unquote authentic, like I need New Orleans bounce from New Orleans by a New Orleans artist. So if it is something like that, if you're a Chicago artist and you know that stuff is indicative of Chicago, that's helpful to me. But those are the 2 instances in which I'm typically searching in my inbox.
And I'll say too. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I was going to say, one, shout out to Taylor. She's my my twin. Her first name is my middle name. So shout out to you. But I was going to say also, we released a resource as well, which some may or may not be aware of, as far as the top 24 themes that are asked a lot in sync. And so these are lists that we've compiled off of briefs we've gotten and, just our experience. So if anybody's curious about what those common themes are that show up in briefs, just so you kind of proactively write, and have music ready, for what the need typically is, you can go over to controlcamp.com, and that's a free resource there.
Awesome. All right, let's keep on moving. Let's go to Torian.
Yeah, kind of on that note, one of the questions I had, by the way, what's up, James Garden, my guy? Good to see you here. The question I had was more or less kind of on the tech side, I guess, in terms of like format, because there's a lot of resources out there that say how to submit music for streaming platforms, but what does that look like in terms of submitting for sync licensing? Is it the same information? Are you basically just submitting those same WAV file? And do you guys prefer it to be in a WAV file versus MP3? Just those, I guess, tech questions.
Well, the good question. If I understand it correctly, there's a couple of things. One is that different people are going to have totally different requirements. So one person may, only want a streamable link. Somebody may want you to send, specifically disco. Someone may ask, send me the MP3 first that I can listen to, and then if I want more, send me the whole thing. And then when you're talking about submissions, you're not just, I think what you were asking is not just about music supervisors, but if you're going to submit for things through an agency or through a library, any one of them can have totally different requirements. So I have about 6 different libraries I work with, and every single one has totally different file submissions. Once they accept the song, how they want the file, the types of metadata they want in the file, what formats they want, it's all totally different. So this goes back to, it's ultimately about the relationship and knowing the person that you're dealing with. And then once you're dealing with that person, that is a one-to-one client relationship. And every client, you have to treat them almost like they're your only client and know specifically what they want. So long answer just because there's not one answer for that.
I will say, though, that WAV files don't save or whatever metadata.
True.
So I prefer AIFs if you're going to send a high res.
Yes, I love AI.
Yeah, WAVs they just wipe those. So all your hard metadata work is out if you send it in a WAV to me. But yeah, some libraries might want WAV because that's the format they prefer.
And I want to add another thing, I guess, a reason why we all love Disco. So when you upload a high-res file, whether it's WAV or AIF, they create the MP3 file for you. So when you're sending a link to a music supervisor, they can actually select which file format they want to download. And also, Disco lets you update your metadata like in bulk. You can add the artist to 100 different songs in like 2 minutes. So I think it's really good for updating metadata and also giving the music supervisors the option to download whichever format.
Dope. Totally agree. Okay. James, I got you next.
What's up, everyone? So I just got a quick question. Would it be beneficial or annoying, or is this even seen of people submitting a male vocal and female vocal version of songs every time they send them out?
Great question.
I like that if it's a cover. Absolutely. If it's a cover, send me both. Hell yeah. But in terms of regular tracks, I mean, whatever it works best for you. But yeah, searches do come down to male or female vocals. But in terms of making a male and female vocal of each of your tracks, that sounds like a lot of labor.
Great question, though. That was a great question. Nia, you're next.
Hi, everybody. So I'm a sound design student and I specialize in like music editing, but most of my experience has just been on student projects or short form media that only is distributed in like festival circuits. So I'm really just trying to understand, how closely do you guys work with music editors?
I think it depends on the type of project and the production environment, honestly, the post-production environment. For my work at Condé Nast, we don't actually have music editors unless it's like a very intense piece. But on our more music heavy shows, back in my TV days, we would work very closely with the editors because say you're coming up with a sound and you have to swap it at the end of the day because you can't clear it or whatever reason you need to switch the song, and you want a good relationship with the editor so you can start sending them tracks that they can cut in last minute so you can send it to the director or post supervisor and get it over the finish line, test things out and really tag team. And a lot of the times what a lot of people don't talk about is music editors actually have a creative say, because depending on the workflow of what you're working on, the music editor might cut in some temp tracks. And so say you have an idea of some indie artists that might be affordable because they're not on a major record label and they're not on a major indie label. And so it seemed like we could work with it because by that time, if you're working on a series specifically, you'll know an idea budget and you'll be part of those conversations. And so it's a sneaky way to kind of get to be part of that creative. And I think it's very important to try to develop, whether you're a supervisor or an editor, that nice cohesive relationship, because our jobs go hand in hand. And the editor is the person who takes that song and cuts it perfectly to picture. And also sometimes, sorry, I'm talking a lot. Sometimes I've had a song where I'm like, this is a song, and they're like, they can't find anything, they don't like it. I've sent like 10 different bins and rounds of options, and I'm like, this is a song. I actually went to school for music editing and video editing originally, by the way. So every time, once in a while, I'll pull out that hat and I go, no, you're not hearing it. You're not hearing it correctly. And so I will take whatever mix I have available with whatever software I have to do a nice audio edit to picture, and I will show them why this song is the one. That's why music editors are so important, is because they're the ones who are going to help make it sound perfectly to picture. Because as a supervisor, we're just going, this is a song, when we can only do it in words, and then to have that relationship for an editor to go, I know exactly what you mean, and pick apart the song, especially in Kelsey's world with the trailers, where, you know, there's so many different varieties, and like cutting the music, cutting here and there, and like pulling out some of the stems so that you're only listening. Oh, it's so creative. I love music editors. I'm very biased, but I'm just going in circles now. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop talking.
Well, I brought up sound design. I work with sound designers a lot. I do a lot of custom sound design because I'm in the trailer world, and that's extremely sound design heavy. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was your question, but I do go to certain sound designers and ask them to make some customized stuff for me.
You go to sound design houses, or do you find people like freelance?
Most of the time it's like sound design composers are also a lot of times just normal composers. They will be with houses for a long time until people recognize their names, basically. And then they're like, oh, that's X, Y, and Z. He has awesome sound design, you know? And then they can kind of do their own business after that point. But most of them start off with like non-exclusive contracts with like the major trailer production houses.
Also, I just want to mention that there's a guild for sound editors. It's called the MPSE, Motion Picture Sound Editors. So you can get engaged with that, just like you can get engaged with the Guild of Music Supervisors. I don't know if they have any volunteer opportunities, or but I know that they have an awards called the Golden Reel Awards, which I participate in every year. So just food for thought if you're interested in that side of the business. There's a whole trade guild that you can get involved with. So
I actually wanted to give a quick advice for real quick too. I know we got to wrap up soon. I work closely too, or just I should say in the past 2 months, started working closely with Splice. Splice actually is kind of like how a lot of these music libraries are, where you can go to the platform, get a subscription, boom, boom, get music, whatever. They do the same model just for sound design and kits and things like that. So I've actually worked on independent films and gotten a lot of Foley and sound design. And download it, and the way they compensate you is the same way you get paid a certain percentage per download. So that's definitely actually a good place to go, because I have a cousin on there who is making significantly a lot just making sounds for people to
There
use
is
really
money to be made in sound design. If you are
Yeah.
trained in that and you are good at that, you should do that.
Oh yeah.
Very dope. Appreciate that. All right, we have one last question. Daniel, you're the one wrapping it all up. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you guys for creating this space. I just want to say I love what you're doing. I'm on the website right now for Control Camp, but it seems that the link is broken. I don't know if it's just on my end. Just wanted to give you a heads up about that. And my question is, coming from the perspective as an independent artist, I'm a little bit nervous and self-conscious about building relationships, only because I don't know exactly how to initiate some of these conversations. I've tried DMing and I've tried email before. What are some of the things that you should avoid as an independent musician pitching? What are some of the words you should avoid, or practices or approaches that you discourage as music supervisors for us pitching to you?
Let me take that. Well, first, thanks for. I just went to check to the website. Did you try to while you? Oh, well, you went. Let me bring you up real quick, Daniel, because I just want to ask. Did you try to click on the link to one of the ebooks, or did you try to click on something else?
I just typed in controlcamp.com, and then it's taking me to index/WP/ I don't know, again, if that's only on my end.
I'll jump in real quick. I think what's happening is we probably didn't clarify the spelling. It is spelled a little different. It's CTRL camp, like control or delete. It's in our bio for those who are trying to access it. That may be what's going on, Daniel.
Yeah, I bought your book through the website before, so I'm just going to the same link.
Okay.
And it has also your
we did
icon.
it might, since you've been there before, we made some changes to WordPress. You probably have to reset your cookies because it's taking you to an old version. I had a problem that week, so thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, once you reset your cookies, it'll go to the new which new version of the site.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up. So anybody who's downloaded our book last week or went there last week, we had to do a reset with WordPress this week. So if you're getting that problem, go into your browser and clear your cookies, and then when you go back, you'll be able to connect it. Because I'm on there now. So thank you for bringing that up.
Now I was gonna say, did anybody have any thoughts towards his initial question as far as kind of best practices?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't like the hustle of sliding into DMs, which I understand, I mean, I fully endorse getting your stuff represented, not even exclusively by a third party or by somebody who can pitch for you. If it's just not your game, it's not your game, and it's somebody else's job to do that. And those third party pitchers are great about, you know, if your music is good, they'll take it. So just something to think about.
I was just going to kind of say the same thing. My advice would be to connect with folks like myself and Psychosis. I don't know, he might have hopped off, but he's also another person.
I'm still here, bro.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. Connect with folks like us who are already in it and have been in it for a while. We're, not to sound cocky, forgive me, we are more reputable. So it's easier for us to go to those we're already working with and say, hey, I got a new guy, because those supervisors, again, on my behalf, trust me and my word, and I'm very picky about who I work with, because I don't want my relationships damaged. I don't want that. So try getting with folks like us, collaborating with us first, learning the ropes through us, and then when you feel like you're ready, start venturing out on your own and see if someone knows us already, or people you're trying to get to that helps the relationship. If you already know someone existing and that they trust too.
I would like to wrap up on one really important thing that we didn't cover tonight, which is one, to answer your question, all the 7 things that we kind of discussed tonight are really the ways to do it. However, I'm a little bit of an imposter because I've never in my entire 20 years of music business pitched a music supervisor in my life. I've only ever built relationships. However, every single one of these 7 rules applies to those relationships, that you have to create human contact with people, that you have to treat people respectfully, you have to bring it with the music, you have to be prepared, and you have to treat your business like a business. We're creatives, there's music involved. You have to really get that all buttoned up. And, Jess and Kelsey kind of reiterated, and Rosie earlier reiterated 100 times tonight, having that stuff buttoned up is really critical, and having the music be amazing is really critical. But really look to make a human connection with someone. Really just try to be in the community. This room is a huge help in that, where you can kind of start to ping people and become friends with them. But I have to give shout outs to like KZ and Chimera and a couple of other people. I probably get 30 to 50 DMs after a room like this, sometimes more, plus LinkedIn, plus those things. The people that I respond to the most, like Chimera hit me up and just went, girl power. And I was like, yeah, bitch, sorry, that's not appropriate. But, I just want to talk to other humans. People are getting pitched all day long. You got to, be a little human about the whole experience. So I really highly encourage you. I know that the world is locked up right now, but try to find the ways where you can really make human contact with these people and find the people and the things that you have in common. Like Jess, stalked Jess's Instagram during this whole thing, and I want to go travel with her. I'm looking at all of her pictures. It's like, it's not that hard to make a human connection with people. And then, continue that relationship and let timing do the work for you. Let things come up naturally. I can't stress that enough.
You're going to get a dozen girl power DMs now.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. But don't always feel like you have to be in pitch mode is really the whole thing.
No, you hit the nail on the head. That's the best way to develop a relationship, is not to talk about work. Like, I want to know who you are as a person. Like, if you want a response, don't talk to me about my work. Like, I answer people in voice memos all the time because they're just like students looking to learn, or they want to break into just being a music supervisor, not even like pitching their music. And they just are like, I don't know what to do. I need help. Do you have any advice? And I'm like, yeah, ask me a question. Like, if you ask me a direct question, I will give you an answer. And I usually send a bunch, probably too many voice memos, as you guys could tell. But that, like, Steph is right on point. Like, just talk like a normal human being. Like, don't make it so aggressively. Like, because the way that when you want to just so aggressively talk to us about work, it's so much pressure on yourself as well when you approach someone else that way. You're putting that pressure back on yourself. Like, I need to get a response and I need my song licensed and I need them to listen to my music and get feedback. Like, we can pick up on that pressure. I don't like receiving those messages. Like, I look at that and go, ooh, you know? So like, write a message that you would get and you go, yeah, like girl power.
Yeah, I was in a room with Ava DuVernay and she was talking about this and somebody aggressively pitched her and kind of, he's like, I'm going to take my shot right now. And he was like, I want to work with you. So how can I work with you right now? And she had the most poignant and brilliant answer, which was just simply, she's like, you know, these relationships are personal. Working for me is very personal and music for me is personal. And she was saying filmmaking for me is very personal. You know, that's the equivalent of walking up to me on the street and just saying like, hey, I've never met you before, but I want to work with you. Let's work together. Come on. You know, she's like, if you think about it that way, it's almost, I'm paraphrasing, of course, because she's a lot more eloquent than I am, but, you know, it's a little psychotic if you think about it. You know, it's like, say hello, you know, establish a connection and think about talking about that person on the street versus even if you are in a DM. I think if you put it in that headspace, it'll help a lot to rehumanize this conversation. And again, I say that fully well knowing that in these kind of quarantine times, that's a difficult thing that we're starting to lose, but I think it's really, really critical.
This is great. Let's let me pass this to Jared because we try to stop at 10 o'clock and we usually sometimes go over a little bit, but I love the way this has been flowing. I love how quickly the questions flowed, and I want to let Jared do the wrap up and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Are we doing it? We're doing an after party after this, Eric?
We weren't going to do it today. We were going to start those. No, we're going to start them next week.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Well, after party's coming, so we can talk more if these meetings
in an unmoderated version.
Yeah, the unmoderated where you kind of bring more people on stage and just kind of talk, you know, more liberally. But anyway, yeah. And so I see we still got people that popped in, and if you have, we're wrapping up. You know, we are Control Camp. This is a community built for independent artists who are looking to get their music in TV and film. And again, we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I forgot to mention too, we're going to start doing Saturday sessions as well for song critique. So stay tuned for that. But I just had to say, like, you know, thank you again for, you know, everybody who continually shows up. You know, who's here as a moderator. I mean, we have Steph, Jess, John, Samara, Jaden, Kelsey, Kick, Jason, Digital, Mariella, Psychosis, Mike, Hunter, Rashad, Gilflow. Like, I know I do it every week, but I'm always honored, you know, to have so much wisdom on stage, so many years of experience, and you guys keep showing up to give back. And I could see, you know, the same heart resonates with you all as well to just pour into the community, because we all know what it's like, you know, to try to break into this side, and for you all to, you know, give up your time in this way, you know, always means a lot to us. And so we don't ever want to make light of that. But for all those who came in as well and raised their hand, but we had to, you know, shut the hand raising off. There were a few that didn't get their question. I'll open up myself as well. If you text the number in the bio, and just shoot me your question. I'll do my best to get back to you and try to, you know, assist in whatever question you have. But I definitely encourage you all to keep showing up. You know, we do these again every week. And I mean, the information that's here, you know, will definitely fast track you if you're seriously interested in getting your music placed, and growing a career, you know, in sync licensing. And a new thing as well we're trying to do is provide replays for you all. So we're getting that packaged up. And again, if you're a part of our email or text platform, you'll get updates when everything is ready. But all I can say is keep showing up. And if you're here, you're a part of the camp, you're a part of the family. And, you know, we appreciate and love y'all. So that's about it. That's all I got, Eric. What's up? What I missed?
Just first of all, before we shut down, Jess, like, it's got to be like 3 a.m. your time. So like, I so appreciate you hanging in like all night long. Like, this is just
MVP.
I love you guys. You're so inspiring, and I can't help myself but stay up because I just love what you're creating.
Thank you. That means that means so much. So thank you to everyone. Again, if you came in later, don't worry if you missed this week and every week. We are going to make our notes fully available. We're doing make recordings of the shows available. Follow us at Control Camp. Go to our website, which is controlcamp.com, CTRLcamp.com. Link is in the bio. If you have a problem on Chrome, just reset your cookies or go pull it up on Safari. It works perfectly there. But once you reset your cookies, we just did a reset in WordPress this week. And so notes will be available. I'm trying to see if I forgot anything. And thank you again to everyone on the stage. We will be back maybe this Saturday if you've submitted music to us to listen to. We might do a room this Saturday, so stay tuned. Follow us in the camp, and we're going to start with your music first to go through, and then we'll make the link available. There's a link available in Jared's in Daraj's profile right now for submitting music to listen to. But once we start that, we'll be doing that every week. And so we're going to have 2 rooms every week, one for Q&A and one for screening music. And we got a whole bunch of stuff coming. We're going to give you so much information. It's going to make your head spin. You're going to love where we're going, hopefully. So thank you all. Have a good night. And thank you for hanging in with us, even with all the craziness going on right now in DC. We just thank you for this moment of this bit of levity and keeping things light and ability to kind of distract us for a couple of hours. I appreciate that personally.
Yeah, this was beautiful.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Amazing.
Daraj.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good
Peace,
to see
y'all.
all your
Thank you guys. This is
faces,
amazing
kind of.
and helpful. And I'm going to be following
Jessica.
everybody. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate
We'll see you
you,
next
Psychosis.
time.